Hi, I'm Tom and I talk about code. Today we're going to be back, we're going to be working on the wonderful PlayStation 2 game I've been building. Let's have a quick look at where we are. Okay, progress is slow, we have a fun little triangle man, we can rotate, we can shoot. It's fantastic, okay? This is the beginnings of a wonderful game. I want to do a few things today, okay? I'm kind of torn in my mind between two things that I want to do. On one hand, I want to add some, enemies. I'm probably just going to have spinny triangles come in from the side. You shoot them, they blow up. We could build a very simple, very, very simple game just off of that. Have a little score counter up the top, do something simple like enemy frequency increases as time goes on, and also there's a chance that, two things spawn instead of one. The frequency of that also increases as time goes on. You can build a simple little game there. The other thing I'm thinking of working on is some table setting, okay? Some clouds and stuff for the background to scroll through, some stars that kind of twinkle. It's all up in the air. It's all up in the air. If any people in chat come in and have a preference, I will completely swing what I'm planning. But first, a few fun things to talk about. One, I got a new keyboard, okay? This is exciting. I need everyone to listen to this keyboard. I need to see how it picks up on my camera. Ready? This is a Fantech. What is it? Fantech Max Fit 67. Okay. Gateron Milky Yellows. Have a listen. Have a listen. Okay. Is that beautiful or what? Seriously, this thing's lovely. I wanted to build my own 40% keyboard, but my old keyboard broke and I just needed something now for work. So yeah, now I get to annoy everyone at the office with my silky smooth keys. Also, I'm older than I was last time I streamed, okay? Last time I was here, I was 25. I turned 26 since my last stream. I went to Adelaide, went to a music festival, had a little boogie, saw Paul Kelly live. It was fantastic. Fantastic. It's been a great few weeks, and I've been back in the office talking shit with my colleagues. So, I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling very motivated. I have a to-do here. What does this to-do say? Finish math API and merge. I did that. Fix vector 2 normalize. I think I also did that. I think these were from the stream before last. To do. It's going in the bin. Okay, so let's do enemies. I think this is something I'm a little bit more familiar with. Okay, so we'll do enemies this stream, and then I'll do some visual improvements next stream. Maybe even like use sprites instead of just brightly colored triangles, but that sounds a bit ambitious. We'll see what we get to. So let's go script. Let's have a quick refresher of how a player works. So entities, they have a draw method, they have an update method. That's it. That's really it. They also have a key pressed method. No, they don't. The player has a key pressed method. Actually, before I get too distracted. So first things first, do I have anything in my git state? I don't. One thing that's really been bothering me, is that our shoot button is X, okay? So if I want to turn and shoot at the same time, I've got to like change my controller grip and it's a bit awkward. Let's put that on R1 so that we can move and shoot at the same time. Let's do that. Let's do that. So let's jump into our player pad. Hopefully I have a constant defined for this. If not, I might have to add one, but we should be okay. How we going? This does not get checked, but this could be because we don't check it in our main. This could be because we don't check it in our script main. X, right? Yes. Okay, so we need to initialize. Our pad logic only checks constants that we have checked in the past, so we kind of have to check every button we care about up front. And now we shoot on R1. So we can turn, we can shoot, we can move. Life is good. Life is good. Another small thing actually that I've been thinking about, I reviewed the footage from these streams, okay? Another small thing that bothered me. If I like flick the stick around, the player kind of flickers around a bit erratically, okay? And I think we can solve this by just having a higher threshold for when we actually turn to face a direction. So for example, right now you turn, if you can see how little I move the stick, we'll go from facing up to facing down. I'm moving the stick maybe like 5 or 6 degrees, okay? Out of a possible like 45. It's a very small fraction of the stick's total movement. I think if we just add a bigger threshold for the analog stick. So let's get up a bit of paper so I can draw this. Okay, this is worthy of a picture. This is worthy of a diagram. Let's go. Let's do this off camera just in case I have anything weird. You never know. It's always better to be safe when you're going through your document history. I'm pretty sure I didn't do anything suspicious, but... Paper. Okay. Crisis averted. I'm gonna come in here. I'll do a title and stuff later, that's fine. Where are we? Palette. Okay, so we've got our analog stick. You know, it's something like this, I guess. How are we gonna draw this? Let's get this back up here. So you've got your analog stick. You know, it's something like this. It's in its little. Oh, this is awful. This is awful. I hate it. Your little analog stick nub, right? That moves back and forward. And so if you think about how many degrees this moves back and forward, right? You've got this range. And we represent this range as, you know, this is 0, this is 1, and this back here is -1 along some axis. Right? -1. Seta Siggy in chat just asking if I upload my PS2 dev streams to YouTube. I do, but I have not made the previous video in this series live, but it's okay. Not much happened. You're not missing much. But I do recommend you go back and watch it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for following along. I will try and be a bit more regular getting these streams up in a reasonable amount of time. So, analog sticks, they move in a range. You know, at what point do we consider this analog stick pressed for the sake of rotating our character to face a direction, right? When moving this stick down, do we want to say, hey, actually, face this direction? Now, there are a few interesting things you can think about here. One is that maybe the amount we want the analog stick to be pressed down actually changes depending on the direction we're facing. Like, maybe if you want to do a full 180, if you want the character to go from facing here to facing here, maybe you have to really commit and press the analog stick all the way down. But if you're just, like, rotating this much, you know, maybe the analog stick only has to be, like, 0.5, whereas here you want it to be, like, 1, right? Does that make sense? So you'd have to rotate it, you know, really hold it back. Really hold it back. So that's a thought. Okay, that's a thought. The other thought is we just put a threshold on it overall. So we say that unless your analog stick has moved, you know, beyond this line, don't do it. So how do we do that, right? Because we've got two axes here. We've got this axis. We've also got the other axis, which is going to kind of go like out here at a 90-degree angle. So if we jump into our player, we do our little rotation logic. Axis right X and axis right Y. We put these into a vector, okay? And we check the length of this vector. And we check if it's bigger than 0.2. So really we can just come in here and say if this is... Well, we want to normalize it, okay? Or do we want to normalize it? Normalize might still be broken. Let's just say if it's bigger than 0.4. And now we'll have like just a little bit less of that behavior, right? It's still a little bit flickery. And a lot of the time, I think we're going to kind of have the stick maxed out. So let's even go crazy. Let's say 0.8 and see how this feels, okay? And now, we don't get this flicky behavior. We don't get this like debounce back and forward. And it still feels good to turn. I don't think I'm missing anything in the turning here, okay? So if you want like Robotron dual stick, I guess not quite Robotron, right? But that's kind of always what I think of with like top-down shootery games. Where you can move and shoot in you know, two directions, right? Yeah, high threshold on the second analog stick. I think it makes sense. Cool. So, two small quality of life things taken care of. Two small quality of life things taken care of. We'll just make a commit called quality of life. Perfect. So now let's add an enemy. Let's make a folder for entities, and we'll go script, entity, we'll call it rock. It's not an asteroid. Asteroids is a trademark of some company, I'm sure, so we'll just call it rock, and that'll be good. That'll be good. Let's get a second window up here so that we're nice and spaced around my face. Okay, so what do we need? Local rock. Well, the rock's going to have an X, it's going to have a Y, right? It's going to have some position. It's also going to have a rotational speed. So we'll call it RV, and we'll call it like 0.1, I guess, 0.1 degrees per sec. All of our units are in units per second, okay? So 0.1 degrees per second is probably actually a little bit slow. We probably want it to be like 0.6 degrees per second, degrees radian per second. That's what? One rotation every 6, 1.2, 1.8. We want it to be higher than this. We want it to be like 1.4. That'll be better. That'll be a better number. We need it to have an angle, much like the player. It's going to have a rotation from the positive x-axis, and it's going to have a speed. It's going to have a velocity, which is going to be a mvec2. Vec2 is a lowercase v, and that's going to be 0, 0. Perfect. Or maybe it's going to be 1, 0. Maybe we should have a direction. Let's have a direction, and then let's also have a speed. And that's going to be like 6.8 pixels per second. Okay, perfect. Everyone in chat, how does my keyboard sound? You've got to rate my keyboard. If you can't hear it, I'll bring it back up to the microphone again so everyone can hear. It's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a thing of beauty. Okay, so I think this is all the definition we need for a rock. Maybe one thing with like asteroid style games, okay? You've got like a playfield, and then you have stuff that comes in from the side of the playfield, but it can be nice if you have a rock that's like this size and then a rock that's like this size, right? If they're like scaled a bit differently, so maybe we want to scale as well. And we'll say scale is 1. So we're gonna make a new rock, and when we make a new rock, we want a position, and we want an offset. So a rock should spawn off screen. Okay, a rock should spawn like here, right? And if a rock spawns here, we probably want it moving roughly towards the center of the playfield. That might be a little bit predictable, but for now I think that's a good or maybe just pick a random spot and let them wrap around. Okay, we've got some thinking to do. Is it too predictable if everything just moves straight towards the center? Probably. That's probably lame and boring. Let's just give them a random direction, but we probably want it to be like roughly in this direction, right? We want to pick something that vaguely goes towards the center plus or minus, theta degrees. So we want to take the difference between the center of the playfield and where we've spawned our rock. We want to rotate that by plus or minus theta, some arbitrary angle, and then we go. We set a direction, we set a slightly randomized speed, we set a slightly randomized scale, we do a couple of bits and bobs, and then we go. That sounds good, okay? That sounds really good. So the center of the screen, let's just make this a constant. It's CX, it's 320, and it's the center Y is 224. Beautiful. So XY, and that's it. That's all we do. So the difference to the center of the screen, we'll call it DC. It's going to be a new vector. It's going to be, the X is going to be center X minus our new X, because we want to go towards that. So this minus this. This minus, yeah, because, so like if this is 640 and this is 320, 320 minus 640 is minus, no, we want that to be, is Y up positive? This is 0. This is 0. So if this is 320 and we're going towards 0, we want it to be 320. So CX minus this. Yes. Okay, and then CY minus Y. We might be going backwards here. It's very late. I've had a very long day at work. You can't hold my poor programming decisions against me, but this makes sense in my head, right? So we have a vector to the center of the screen. Now we want to normalize it and rotate it. Rotate it, normalize it. It shouldn't matter. Let's go DC, normalize. I really hope that I have a commit that fixed my normalization. Vec2.lure. Normalize, perfect. Doesn't take an argument. Nope, good. So normalize and then DC.rotate. And we want a random number in a range of negative theta to theta. So let's say local, how many degrees is reasonable to rotate, right? 5, 10, 15? Degrees. How many radians are reasonable to rotate, okay? So if we think like, I don't know, a solid like cone, right? So like a 90-degree cone plus or minus 40. Yeah. Let's go with plane 2. Let's go with root 2 on 2, maybe. That might be a good number. What's 1 over the square root of 2? Quick math, someone. Maybe 0.8772. Very rough approximation of the reciprocal I had in mind. But it will do. It will do. Okay, so we've got a random rotation. So we want a number plus or minus this. So what does my random number look like? Lua math random. There's something about the math random in the PlayStation 2 Lua, maybe a slightly different version. We'll see what we get if we do random MN. In the range 0, yeah, so we want local math.random negative r rot to r rot, right? It's somewhere in the range of negative this to this. And then we rotate by the angle. And now what? So we have a rotated vector. That's now our direction. So we make a rock. So our new object, we have x equals x, y equals y, the direction equals this new direction we've created. We'll keep theta as 0, we'll keep everything else as default. Everything else should be fine. These are important things to set. And then we do the usual meta table magic. Sweet. And is that it? I think that's it. Cool, so when we update our rock, what do we say? We say we multiply our direction by so let's go local so you know our delta for the frame is going to be a copy of our direction. Again, I just want to check my copy function. So yeah, vec2 from, right? Vec2 add vec2. Well, let's go. Okay, so m.vec2 from. No, hold on. We have a vec2 from, right? We've got a function for this. So we make a vector that is a copy of another vector. We grab self dot direction. Delta scale. We scale it by our speed, and then self dot. Well, why do we have an x and a y separate? This should be a vector, right? This should be pos equals m dot vec2 0 0. And then we can use our vector methods to mutate this, right? So we go pos equals m.vec2 x, y. So again, rather than relying on two things, now we can just say self.pos add delta. Isn't that a bit more beautiful? Isn't that a bit more lovely? Don't you love to see it? NidoCE, thank you. Oh yeah, of course, 707. I remember this magical constant from when I used to do maths at uni. This is very familiar to me, 0.707. Let's do it. Great number. Approximately, right? This thing has infinitely many decimal numbers after the decimal place, right? I think. Anyway. And now we just need to draw something. So let's go function, rock, draw. We'll just do something really dumb here for now. So let's go draw 2D. We need to include all this stuff as well at some point, but we'll just go draw 2D. We'll draw a triangle. Again, we will borrow heavily from our player logic here. Draw. Maybe actually let's do a rectangle. Let's do a rectangle in the vein of our bullets. So XY width height. pos x, self pos y, and we'll draw it. It'll be 20 by 20. It'll be a reasonably small rock, and we'll set a color as well. Set color, let's go, pick a number, red, green, no blue, and a bit of opacity in there. This is the magical PlayStation 2 constant for not transparent. Cool. So we can make a rock. We should be able to make a rock. This should work. We need to include some things. Let's go local d2d. Local m require ps2 math. I think that's how we do it. Yep. Perfect. And this should be good. This should be good. We're going to ignore this theta and rotation because we can't actually rotate a rectangle that we draw like this. These are primitive sprite drawing rectangles that do not support rotation. This is a fact of how the PlayStation 2 GPU works. We will get a better rectangle drawing function at some point, but especially if we want to draw like textured rects, we actually have to think about how that'll work. Okay, so how do we get this into the game? Let's go main, script main. Let's go game.lua. This is where we run our game logic. So let's grab local rock equals require. I think this is entity, right? Entity.rock. And when we enter the game, let's say local r, we'll make a rock, we'll make it off the screen at let's go 300, and we'll put it at 460, I guess. So it'll be down here-ish, hopefully going this way. And we'll find out very quickly if we've done our math right. And let's spawn a rock. So if I run this, what happens? Does it blow up? It does, but that's okay. Sometimes these things happen. So we're going to quit them, and we're going to run it from the command line because we get a better output. And when we try and include this, it blows up. So we have a rule for this, lua lint. Lua lint says this is all okay. Oh. Lua lint has no problem with this. So that means that our bug is a little bit more crafty. This means that our bug is lurking somewhere. We're trying to reference something that doesn't exist. We're trying to do something like the syntax is okay, but the logic is deeply, deeply flawed. So script entity rock.lua entity rock.lua. It looks like we open the file. Require draw 2D, require math, that's fine. These constant definitions should be fine. Rock equals, well, first off, we do have a syntax error. That's a syntax error. You need a comma at the end of your lines when you're defining a table like this. Does that mean it doesn't hit this? Weird. Oh, hold on. Do you see why? Okay, let's add this syntax error back in. Okay, something very important happened here. Right, it's really important when you write, for example, a linter rule that you actually do it properly. Because if you do this wrong, it's going to give you a false sense of confidence. Can anyone see why this didn't work? Oh. Sorry, just enjoying my tea there. This didn't work, okay? It's a very good reason. Let's explore this. So, script star lua, ls script star.lua. These are all the Lua files in our script folder. Except now we've added something not in our script folder. We've added an entity folder. So we could extend this rule. We could go into our make file, to our lualint rule, right? And we could add to this. We could say script entity star.lua, right? And then the next time we add a folder, we could do this. And the next time we add a folder, we could do this. Nah, I'm not so keen on that idea. That feels like not a great solution, okay? Sorry, I think my voice might have been clipping a little bit there. I think I might have been too excited, okay? I might have gotten too keen. Let me just turn myself down a little, okay? And then back up. I think that was too far. I think this is good. I think this is a better level, right? Let me know how I sound. Let me know how I sound. I'm too excited about life right now. Seriously, you can't stop me. There's a cool command, a bash command, okay? Hold on, let me... Sorry, I just realized I've had my small terminal on this whole time as well. Do you guys like seeing what's going on? Sure. let's do it. Make file. Okay, so here's a cool command. Find. Okay? Find type F, so find files that match a certain name pattern. That name pattern is going to be star.lua, and we're going to search in the folder script. Is this right? Maybe this isn't right. Find... I've done this wrong. Of course, right? Man, find... Do I need to tell it to be recursive? No. It searches through file name, path, expression. Path expression. This should be recursive, right? This should be recursive. I swear every time I do this, except when I want to do it on stream, it works. Do I need to wrap name in quotes so it doesn't get expanded? Probably. Oh my god. Okay. I've got a new keyboard. It's getting a little bit out of control. Script. There we go. You've got to wrap the name pattern in quotes, otherwise it'll expand to, you know, whatever's here. So it'll expand to like main.lua, and then we'll just find a file called main.lua. You've got to wrap it in double quotes. That's how bash works. Bit of bash magic. But anyway, the important thing is we can actually, rather than having to care about how these folders work, we can just use the result of find. So we can say find script type f name star.lua. And I did something weird there. Must have put a number for that. Again, new keyboard, still learning the ropes, okay? Still learning the ropes. Now remember I added this linter error, this syntax error back in, so the linter should fail, like, out. Oh, hold on. I wanna, what am I doing? What am I doing? This isn't right either, is it? Is this gonna work? Yeah, that works. There we go. So yeah, we're telling it a makefile versus bash. One of these funny, stupid syntax things that always catches you out. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. It doesn't really matter. Now we're running Lua lint against all of our Lua files, and we get an error on script entity rock Lua line 11 because we don't have a comma here. So now if I make Lua lint, it's happy, and now I can make run. Okay, so really small thing, right? Really, really small detail. Now something else has crashed, and that's okay. But really, really small detail that gave me a false sense of confidence that led to me, you know, missing a very, very easy bug. You know, it's important to have good linters and good code checkers and you know, good a good setup. So, our error attempted to index a boolean value up value rock. Okay, I know I can see what this is already. We're referencing something. It's not very clear. It's one of these weird Lua errors, right? But if we go into rock.lua, I've got a hunch now, right? I've got a bit of intuition for what these Lua errors are. And this error is because I haven't returned rock at the end of this file. Return rock. So now when I make run, this should work. And it still doesn't, but that's okay. Bad argument to 1, random. Number has no integer representation. Bad argument 1 to random. Number has no integer representation, okay? So random wants to work on integers, and we've given it a float. Is that it? Is that it? So do we... I don't think that is it, right? I don't think that is it. Interesting. Bad argument to random. Number has no integer representation. Do we need to roll our own random? There is a thing, right? So engine script ps2 init random. Math.random. These are the only references to random we have. Okay. So Lua 5.3. What version of Lua is this doc for? Let's go Lua 5.3. Math.random. This gives you a floating point between those things. Let's go math.random -2, +2. It gives you random numbers. What if I go negative 2.3, 7.8? Is this happy? No. So if you give it a bound, it suddenly expects integers. So what if I go math.random 7.8? No, still no. So what we need to do, right? And again, this isn't hard, right? So we can get a floating point number between 0 and 1. We can multiply this by, say, 8. And then if we subtract 4, let's just be explicit with our grouping. So if we want from negative 4 to positive 4, for example, right? Wait, no, hold on, that's not right. 8, no, hold on, if I go 4 minus 8, that's what I meant. 4 minus, subtract it, negative, no, wait, what am I saying? 0 to, you can tell I've had a long day at work, okay? the harder I've worked during the day, the less brain power I have for this. And this is part of the reason I've been streaming less in general. But this is good, right? It means I've got to like work it out by hand rather than just knowing it. We've got 0. So if we're going from like negative 5 to positive 5, right? And we get a number from 0 to 10, and then we subtract 5, right? Because if we have 0, that goes to... Yeah, you subtract half the number. I was right the first time. I convinced myself I was wrong. Okay? Because if you subtract 4, right? If the highest number you get is 8, 8 minus 4 is 4, and the lowest number you get 0, and 0 minus 4 is minus 4. It's between minus 4 and positive 4. So, in other words, this is the same thing we want to do. We just want to do it with our random angle... 2 times our random angle, subtract 1 times our random angle. Does that make sense? No? Good. It will once I do it. Okay? So math.random, we learnt, right? We learnt by experimentation that this is not supported. So we have to get math.random times 2 times r rot minus r rot. And we get a rock. And there it goes. Let's slow it down a little, okay? Let's bring it back a bit. Let's go down to maybe like 2.4. A nice chill, a nice mellow 2.4, okay? Where's he going? There he's going. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thing of beauty. A thing of beauty. Okay. So what now? Let's add a little thing that's going to spawn rocks at a steady rate. Let's go to game. Let's add a new thing. Let's add a game manager. Horrible name. Don't name things like this. Okay, and a manager is really just going to be a collection of timers, a couple of things that track things. It's going to tell us when we should make a new rock. So let's go manager. Our manager has next rock equals 0. Let's go 0.5. We'll have a little buffer before the first rock. Let's say 1. Let's have a whole second before the first rock spawns. Okay, and we'll have an accumulator which starts at maybe like 0, which would be how many rocks we've spawned. So let's go function manager update. So we're going to have a timer. It's going to count down when next.selfRock, we subtract the delta time for this update from it. So it's going to go down at a rate of 1 per second. When this hits 0, we create a rock. We'll give it a random position around the peripheral of our map. And then we go from there, right? So we give it we make it a random position. We reset it to something. We increase our accumulator. And ideally, as the accumulator increases, maybe the time between rocks gets smaller or something. Maybe we have some like function that, steps it down as the accumulator increases. For now, we won't do that. For now, we will just count for our own bookkeeping sake. So let's say if self.nextRock is less than 0, then self.nextRock equals, what's a good number to space out rocks? 4? Sold. And then we'll say self.ack equals self.ack plus 1. And we need to give it a dummy draw function as well, because we're going to treat this like an entity. This is just going to live in our game, okay? This is just going to live in our game. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be very, very simple. We're going to reuse machinery that already exists. and beautiful. So we've got a manager. Okay, so we'll go into our game. We'll go... I'm a big fan of making your game manager just like a normal entity, right? That lives and dies by the rules of other entities. Game... I didn't capitalize this. Game manager. Cool. So when we enter the game, we'll no longer just like spawn a rock manually. We'll go self spawn game. Now what happens when I run this? Is it going to blow up? Probably. I've probably done something wrong. Index and nil value pos. Well, interestingly, in my game manager, I missed an important step, and we'll get there in a sec. Game.lua31, attempted to index and nil value 31. Because entities have to have positions, blah, 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 blah. Pos equals m.vec2, 0, 0. Local m is require. Every entity needs to have a position. I forgot that was a rule. Cool. So now that's great, but I didn't actually spawn rocks. Forgot to actually spawn a rock. Oh. So, so I want to pick... I need to pick a boundary, right? Either the top boundary, the bottom boundary, the left boundary, or the right boundary. So I guess I could do like two... I could do a coin flip to pick between top and bottom or left and right. And I could do a coin flip to pick between, you know, either of those extremes, right? Or I could have 4 conditions. But basically we need to either be this y, this x and any y, or this y and any x, or this x and any y, or this y and any x, right? 4 possible conditions. So, what do we want to say? What do we want to say? And probably not what we did last time as well. Okay, so let's make 4 magic numbers. Let's make 4 magic numbers. Let's go direction. Top is 0. Let's go. Let's start. Let's say right is 0. Top is 1. Left is 2. Bottom is 3. So we go around clockwise from positive x, like we do with all of our math. Then we want a random number between 0 and 4, which I believe we achieve with, let's go Lua 5.4 actually. Math.random 4. Right, this will give us a number. Does this not give us 0? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I need to do 5 minus 1. 0, 2... wait, no, hold on. 4 minus 1. 0, 1, 2, 3. This is not scientific, but I have convinced myself that this is how the math function wants to work. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3. So, let's go. Last dir equals 0, I guess. Local d equals math.random 4 minus 1, while d is equal to self.lastdir do d equals math.random 4 minus 1, and. So pick a direction that's different to the last direction. In theory, you could do this forever, this could loop forever, but in practice, the odds of that are so extremely low that it's practically impossible. You know, in reality, you'd want to say like do this 5 times or do this 10 times or something, but we're just building like a prototype basically. We don't care too much about fine details like that. So we have a random direction. If d is d right, then so if it's coming from the right, we have a fixed x position. That x position is gonna be 640, 660, I guess. Y is going to be math.random times 430 plus 10. We're not going to go like right in the corners of the screen. We're going to have a little bit of leeway on either side. And even actually, let's maybe say 410 plus 30. Let's give it a bit of space, right? And so then we will say local rock equals require entity.rock. We'll make a new rock at xy. And we need the state as well, right? So we'll say state.spawn rock.new xy. Else if d equals d left, then we do the same thing but with the x fixed differently. So instead of being 660, we say -20. The y logic is the same. Else if d equals d top, then we do the same thing. We fix the y to something. So if it's a top, the y is -20. X is similarly math.random. Let's say 600, so it's 640, so let's go 620, let's go 610, right? 440, 480, 460, 70, 80. Oops. What resolution are you running at? It's fine. It's fine. Plus 30. Cool, and we copy this one more time. And now it's 468 for the y. Love it. This should be good. This should, again, so we'll make lua lint, and everything's happy. And this probably won't work out the gate, but we'll see what happens just to be safe. And I mean, it looks like we actually have a bit of, ooh. I mean, it looks like this actually works. I don't feel like this is 4 seconds. What are they wrapping? No. They're spawning too regularly, okay? 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so our delta time is twice as fast as we think it is. And we also have lost the ability to shoot, weirdly enough. Cool. But we can move around. There are rocks. Are our rocks ever despawning? This is a good question. Game.lure. Game.update. We stopped drawing them over a certain threshold, but we never test them. So let's copy this check, okay? When we update the entity, let's check if it's in bounds. And we'll swap all the conditionals here. So if it's less than this, or bigger than this, and bigger than this, then table.insert kill list I. And these need to be ors, right? Because you're never going to be less than -30 and bigger than 670. Or. I didn't mean to build there. So how do we go here? So we're making a couple of rocks. They're hooning around the screen. This is kind of cool, right? This is kind of what I wanted. I don't know where this guy's going. I guess he's up here and like going this way, but I wouldn't think the range would be that big. Maybe I'll narrow the range a bit, right? In theory, if I make the rotate angle 0, they should all pass through the center of the screen. So let's see what happens if I do that, okay? If I make rot 0, what does this look like? I want to see everything go through the middle. More or less. And this looks a lot better. Okay, so it looks like that does actually work, right? They're not quite passing through the center, but it's pretty close. I like it. So let's go in and give this a smaller value. Let's maybe go 0.3 and see what it looks like now. I just want that bit of variety, right? But I still want them to feel fairly central when they start. Because I might wrap these instead of killing them. I might make that the default for all entities. Maybe I need to bake it in. Oh, there's a lot of options here, right? So I'll leave this just to... Oh, no, I won't. I'll kill it. So in the game where I check here, right? It's really nice to have this in one place. And I guess there's two options. One could be that each entity could own this behavior, which I don't love. I like the idea more of it being centralized. What if I say here, right? If e dot wrap, then do whatever wrap logic there is. Otherwise kill. What does the wrap logic look like for the player? Yeah, let's see, it's very specialized, right? We duplicate a bit of work, but I think we can do it. Let's do it. Let's go, right? This isn't perfect, but it'll do. Except rather than just dumping it here, this is getting a little bit too stacked. Let's go do wrap E. We'll make it just its own little thing. We'll come up here, we'll say function wrap do wrap E. Oop. Just deleted some things. That's okay. Update. Player bullet, blah 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 blah. We'll steal the player's wrap logic, we'll put it in here. Except instead of self, S, self, E, with a state, and also our PX. So our PX we're going to define up here. PX, we'll call it 30, because that's the buffer we used for our player. And now when we call do-wrap, we also have to pass in the state itself, because that's just how our player logic worked. So now I should be able to come into the player, comment out this logic, and I should just be able to say wrap equals true, right? And then I should be able to come into the rock and say wrap equals true. So now our players and our rocks should both wrap around the screen. And that is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. I think our player blew up. I think our player exploded because the game didn't realize that it wanted to wrap it around. E.wrap. If E.wrap. Oops. Let's come back to this, and we'll use this. Self width, self height plus px. Yeah, that player's getting gibbed. He's getting pulped. Do we need to check for true explicitly? I always forget how truthy values work in Lua. Can I go back off the screen then come back? No, he's just getting obliterated. Where's he going? Is this because he's Is this because he's like rapping forever? We'll just give these a name real quick for logging purposes. We'll go game, and that's actually log.info. I think log is always just included. Okay, rocks wrap, players do not appear to wrap. The rock. Okay, so let's follow a rock through, right? So he comes up here. Does he come back on the screen here? Maybe? I don't know. It's hard to say. What about you, sir? Does one come back up over here? Maybe not. I mean, something's happening, right? Rocks are persisting. There are more and more rocks. But, where did our player go? Okay, so question 1. I always forget. There's 2 entity types defined in this file. There's a player bullet, and there is a player. Ridiculous. So now, yeah, nice. So what if I follow, right? As the player, I'm going to follow this rock. Okay. So the warping around this side is a bit poppy. You kind of pop in. Why is that? Why is that? This is good. No, this is still bad. It's like you don't pop in until you're like outside the edge of the screen. And that sucks. That really sucks. So let's go game. If you're less than px, your position increases by the screen width. So px, negative px is negative 30, right? And that's great. Negative px is great. And yeah, and the width and the height are padded by 30 on each side, right? So actually it should be plus 2 times px. Right, this padding is constant. Oh, this padding is, defined in terms of this. That's great. That's good. Pos x plus the width. We go, but do we add the width of the screen? Do we add the total width of the playfield? I did this last stream. So why do we only wrap at a point where we come back at 0, right? So, I think I know why. Because down here, I add px on, but actually, px is already factored in. I'm double dipping on px. Okay? Double dipping on px. So now if I come over here, whoop, and then I come over here, whoop, perfect. So these should now look a little smoother, right? You're going to come up, and you're going to, yeah, look at these. You can kind of, now top to bottom still a bit poppy, right? Maybe? It's not perfect. It's not perfect, okay? But we've got some squares moving around the screen. This is nice. I might put an elf of this up somewhere for people to download, run on their PlayStation 2s. Yeah, there's no collision, you can't actually shoot anything. It gets pretty hectic, but I'd be interested to see how this ran on people's machines, okay? I'll give this a run in a minute, make sure it actually, runs on hardware verify it, but then I'll find somewhere to post this. That'll be cool. That'll be really cool. But yeah, we're going to turn this into a little game. It's going to be great. Did one just disappear? Did anyone else see that? Anyway, that's probably all I have time for today. We've done a little bit of work towards that entity system and the way our game is going to actually kind of, regulate itself, manage itself. This is hectic. I'll post this somewhere people can download and give it a run on their PlayStation 2s if they're keen. We'll do some collision next time, get this turning into a game, or do some visual, some eye candy, right? Start making this look nice. I'm in two minds about where I want to focus my attention, because as much as I do want to build a complete game that's playable, I also do want to play around with, the usability of textures and stuff before I actually make this a release. So let me know what you want to see. And, yeah, if I do end up linking this in the video description and you've got a PlayStation 2 homebrew soft mod set up, give it a download and see how it runs and, see how long you can run it and how many rocks it can spawn before it melts your PlayStation 2. I'm going to cut it there. I've had a long day. As you can probably tell, my brain is a little bit rotted from work. Thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to follow me on my website, on YouTube, on my Discord. I'm Tom, and I'll catch you next.